Hi, it's Carl's here. The Criterion Collection has released some of the greatest films of all time in modern formats with excellent transfers. One of my favorite movies released by the Criterion Collection over the years is The 400 Blows, the famed French film from Francois Truffaut. And I was wondering when we were going to finally get that on 4K, but Criterion pulled out all the stops and didn't restrict it to just The 400 Blows. They gave us all of the Antoine Doinel films in 4K. So that's what we're looking at today from Criterion. This is the Adventures of Antoine Doinel. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. The title of the set and then the titles of the films are done in the style of luggage tags. If you look at the package here, it's done in the style of Antoine's suitcase. That's actually very creative. I love what Criterion did with this. You got the initials there, AD, Antoine Doinel. Individual movie spines are right here. And right here we have the obligatory booklet. Nice shot of Jean-Pierre Léaud as Antoine Doinel on the back in his older years. There are some great photos here. Credits for each film. There's an essay here called Who is Antoine Doinel, written by Francois Truffaut. There's an article here by Noah Baumbach. And then you have info on the transfers and credits in the back. First film in the series is The 400 Blows from 1959. This also includes the short film Antoine and Colette, which was made for the Love at 20 anthology film. Each movie is included here on 4K and Blu-ray, with the Blu-rays including the bulk of the bonus features. Next up we have Stolen Kisses from 1968. I love how the art looks like a shirt. From 1970, we have Bed and Board again. This looks like one of Antoine's shirts. I do like what Criterion did with the packaging here. And the final film in the series, and again following the motif of the previous ones, Love on the Run from 1979. The final time that Jean-Pierre Léaud would play Antoine Doinel. The release of Francois Truffaut's The 400 Blows in 1959 shook world cinema to its foundations. The now classic portrait of troubled adolescence introduced a new major director in the cinematic landscape and was an inaugural gesture of the revolutionary French New Wave. But The 400 Blows not only introduced the world to Truffaut, it also unveiled his most indelible creation, Antoine Doinel. Initially patterned closely after Truffaut himself, the Doinel character, played by the irrepressible and iconic Jean-Pierre Léaud, reappeared in 4 subsequent films that knowingly portrayed his myriad frustrations and romantic entanglements from his stormy teens through marriage, children, divorce, and adulthood. This box set presents Truffaut's celebrated saga in its entirety. The feature films 400 Blows, Stolen Kisses, Bed and Board, and Love on the Run, and the short subject Antoine and Colette. When I first started getting more into cinema, The 400 Blows was one of the first films I watched. I was actually reading a book called 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, as well as a book on how to become a film critic, which had about 300 or so movies they recommended you watch. The 400 Blows came up in both, and it quickly became one of my favorite movies. Again, beautifully shot in black and white widescreen in France. It stars Jean-Pierre Léaud, who does an absolutely fantastic job playing the adolescent Antoine Doinel, who repeatedly clashes with his mother and father. He's a bit of a slacker, wants to go out and have a good time, but can be forgetful and regularly clash with his parents. One thing I like about the movie, too, is that the parents seem to take turns playing good parent, bad parent. There's not really a clear-cut protagonist or antagonist here. We're going to see Doinel, going to school, trying to run away from home and make it on his own, and of course, try to do something that ultimately lands him in trouble with the law. It's shot in a very down-to-earth, almost documentary style, and the story of Antoine Doinel continued a few years later in Antoine and Colette, which is in the anthology film Love at 20, that being the nation of France's contribution, where he finds himself attracted to a girl who apparently doesn't return the attraction, but he finds himself enthralled with her nonetheless due to their mutual love of music. The subsequent 3 films get more into Antoine's adulthood. We see him juggling loves, juggling jobs, and reaching a point where he finds himself married, divorced, a father, and finding himself again in romantic entanglements and entanglements with ladies of the night. I'm not going to lie, I'm not into the sequels like I am the 400 Blows. I don't think any of them come close to the impact of that film, although Jean-Pierre Léaud gives an excellent performance in all of them, and it's nice to see this character in his later stages of life. I do think the formula does start to wear a little thin by the time you get to the end of the series, but Jean-Pierre always gives a bang-up performance and certainly helps bring this character to life. Francois Truffaut was a fantastic director. He made a lot of other films as well. He's probably best known outside of the Antoine Doinel character for the film The Last Metro, which came out, unfortunately, near the end of his life. International audiences probably know Truffaut best for portraying a French UFO expert in the 1977 Steven Spielberg classic Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But it is great to finally see his iconic works here assembled together in one convenient set. These films are all given new masters here in 4K, and The 400 Blows looks absolutely fantastic. I am happy to say that this isn't just the old Criterion Blu-ray transfer slapped on a 4K. There's been a lot of effort that went into this. Again, it is going to be something of a soft film and not home theater reference demo material, but I am happy to say that it does look very good overall. The sequels, which are actually color films, look very good too, but they have some sequences where there's some grain spiking at times, and they do tend to look even a little softer than the 400 Blows in places. But overall, I would say that all of these transfers are more than satisfactory. Even the short film Antoine and Colette was given a pretty thorough remaster here, and I'm happy to say that it looks just as good as the feature films. The Blu-ray discs of each film do include several bonus features. The 400 Blows disc, again, like I said, has the Antoine and Colette short film, but it also includes Les Mistones, which was one of Truffaut's early short films. Even that's gotten a nice 4K remaster. Unfortunately, it's only on the Blu-ray disc, so we don't get to see the remaster in native 4K, but it does look pretty good. You're going to have a lot of material here to go through because each of the Blu-ray discs, even for the sequels, has some additional material. I'm happy to see Criterion certainly went to the nines to bring this collection to life, and Jean-Pierre Léaud and Francois Truffaut really did justice to this character over the years, and Criterion has certainly preserved that legacy in the best possible way. If you're a fan of world cinema, this is an absolute must-own. Criterion does regularly do those sales twice a year at Barnes & Noble, so the next time one of those happens, I would certainly add this one to your shopping cart. How about you? Are you a fan of the movies that Francois Truffaut made? Are you a fan of the Antoine Doinel character? Do you think this is the best creation of Truffaut? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.